Does anyone ever wonder what the aftermath of domestic violence looks like? You know, it's one thing to get the women out physically. It's one thing as a woman to yank yourself, pull yourself, drag yourself out physically. But there's so much head trauma, right? There's so many ingrained ways of being. You kind of get used to jumping. You kind of get used to like being pushed aside and apologizing for existing. And even though you move on from that relationship, it's like you feel uncomfortable when you're around people that actually treat you well and who are kind. And heaven forbid you have children, because then they have their own little situations going on, right? Don't they? And you don't even know what they were going through when you were going through what you were going through, because the way domestic violence works, right? Even if it's someone who mostly beats, there's always the words. There's always the things that they say to just remember that you're not worth a piece of shit, right? And he doesn't just say it to you, he's saying it to the kids. And he's nicking away at their self-esteem too. And then they're having experiences at school, right? And then, well, depending on how well you're managing, when they come to you and have their cries for help, which may look like being needy or not cleaning their room or taking too long to get dressed because while they're tying their shoelace, they remember the time when dad almost broke their hand while they were tying their shoelace. And then you stepped in, and then he started beating on you, and the kid's spacing out on that. But now, and this time, because you're in a rush to get them to school, you're, boy, if you don't get up, I'm going to beat your ass, right? So you're adding to his pile, and you don't even know. You're like trauma dumping. And now he's crying, and he's already abruptly brought back to the current reality, which isn't much better, right? And the aim of the abuser is perpetuated because you're still, I mean, not all the time. I know, like sometimes you catch yourself. You're like, oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And, you know, like you're mostly that. But you have to remember, just like for yourself, every negative time something happens, it's like it just impacts it more. And it's like, how do you get yourself out of that cycle? How do you stop the DV when the DV is not happening? Because now it's in you. Going to therapy has its place. I'm not, you know, but I am the ultimate joy goddess. I invite you to choose joy and pleasure in the form of somatic breath and the form of somatic movement, so that when you have those spacey moments with your shoelaces, right, and you see your baby just sitting there, you can see him right now, and you can say, oh, what are you thinking about, honey? And then he can just open up and give you a hug and start crying on your shoulder. And then you can scoop him up and have a moment and bond. And he might actually tell you his story, because while we were having our experiences, they were having theirs too. And they didn't have anybody to talk to. And they didn't even know if they could trust you, because sometimes you were just as mean as dad. And now in this moment, there's an opening, and he can see like, oh, she really does love me. Oh my God, she was suffering too. And you can be kind and compassionate to each other. And that's why the work that I do is so important. You see, like, I'm the ultimate joy goddess because I was married for 20 years in a domestic situation that was not good. It ranged from mind fuckery to financial fuckery to like physical abuse and all kinds of things that I found out post divorce that if it were not for my study of somatic sexology, somatic movement, food as medicine, and Tantra, as they used to say, I'd be fit to be tied, okay? It has helped me so seamlessly to deal with my rage and oceans of sadness and just change so seamlessly the way I think and the way I parent. I thought I was parenting good, right? Unschooling hippie mom, and I had no idea what I was missing, which is why I started a whole new podcast. No more the renaming business, whole new podcast, what people miss, because I realized through going through healing through all that and reclaiming my wholeness, what I was missing. What I love most about life is how it constantly humbles you. Like, the moment people get that, they'd stop acting like they're the boss. Of what? Really? Anyone that has to say that is not that. You see, like, now people see me and they automatically assume I'm a goddess. There used to be a time when people probably thought that was a joke. But you don't know what you don't know until you do. And so, you know, this last retreat that I did, the second Love Awaken retreat, the women hadn't been through the Love Camp program, so they hadn't seen me before. And without my even really saying anything, and only with Renee's introduction to me as the embodiment coach, who will also be doing Love Camp After Dark, right? She will deal with the physical and the emotional, right? Or the spiritual. And the women were like, I can believe that, because I am now the embodiment of all my experiences, the ones that were meant to break me and the ones that put me back together again and reminded me that I was always whole, you see. So I guess in layman's terms, people call it self-confidence. And it's so much more than that, because I've seen people with self-confidence, and there's always a little, like you can tell. I say I can tell by the way people walk whether or not they're, fucking. So it depends on how loose your hips are and how free your jaw is, right? And how relaxed your shoulders are. I mean, and that's not always true either, right? There are people that have learned a way of setting their bodies, and then there's people that their bodies just are running the show, as they should, right? Because this is the ultimate technology, and you learn to embody it by being with all the things that you're gifted spiritually that we call struggle or trauma. And it's just opportunities to elevate. So that's what the aftermath of DV looks like, or could, if you work with me, the ultimate joy goddess. If it resonates, reach out. And always choose joy and pleasure. so that you save her.